Hello, and welcome to TechWatch, the EdTech video news program produced by eSchool News. I'm Laura Devaney. Here's part 2 of our interview with Cisco's Charles Fadel on the importance of teaching 21st century skills.
But first, here's an important announcement from Cable in the Classroom.
Where do new ideas in education begin? How is technology used to better equip young students? Who helps push our nation's future forward? Cable's Leaders in Learning Awards recognizes those implementing creative learning programs, from teachers and principals to community and national leaders. Winners will receive a trip to Washington, D.C. and will be honored at a spectacular gala event. To nominate yourself or someone you know, visit leadersinlearningawards.org.
Here's part 2 of our interview with Cisco's Charles Fadel on the importance of teaching 21st century skills.
A lot of the talk about education and technology and the marriage of those two elements often focuses on the gap, as some of your own writings have, between what kids know today, the skills they have, and what they will need to know and be able to do to succeed in life and in the marketplace. So many of the issues seem to come back to that. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, look at the situation we're facing. We have the responsibility to educate our children to be ready for events that will occur 40 years from now, right? This is a situation that's going to be present with them all their lives. And as we educate them, we have to make sure that they're ready for whatever can be thrown their way. Now, we also know that they are going to become lifelong learners to an extent we never fathomed before, but this is clearly the direction everything is taking. So, when you look at that and you start thinking about what ought they know, you realize that they ought to know a lot more than merely content and facts. They need to know skills, and this is the new direction, this new inflection point in teaching and learning.
Cisco has a program in which you are very active, involving the Partnership for 21st Century Skills. And it seems that a day doesn't go by these days when someone somewhere doesn't use that expression, 21st century skills. We're already 7+ years into the 21st century or more, isn't it? What is this about, and why are we using that expression so much if we're already in the 21st century? Do we expect to get the achievement we need before the 22nd century? That's somewhat cynical, but how would you respond to that?
A century is a long, long time, and the longest journey always starts with the first step. So we started about 5 years ago, the Partnership for 21st Century Skills. Cisco was one of the founding members, and the group has now grown to about 35 members and will continue growing. We have now 6 states that have signed on, and the interest is very, very large. There was even a Time magazine article describing the need for 21st century skills, and you know that once you make it in the consumer press, it means that you've punched through beyond merely the specialized press. So we have here an environment where everyone is starting to understand that with increased global competition, it's no longer sufficient to only be good at core subjects, meaning math and science and English. Obviously, those are particularly critical and will remain so. However, in addition to core subjects, we have to now start teaching for skills, meaning how do you become a critical thinker and a problem solver? How do you communicate and collaborate better? What sorts of life skills do you need in terms of adaptability and perseverance and on, that you need to have to truly succeed in a global economy? So that's what we're attempting to teach. That's what the change we're attempting to see occur.
You spoke a few minutes ago about the importance of collaboration between the experienced older teacher, pedagogically, and the less experienced but more tech-savvy teacher, perhaps, who is younger. Can you elaborate a little bit about that in the context of 21st century skills? How in a perfect world, quote unquote, would you see that kind of collaboration helping to increase our students' achievement and ability to go out into the 21st century world?
Actually, by using a lot more collaborative techniques within the classroom, you would see a lot of that. So it's not necessarily from teacher to teacher. That, of course, has to be the case, but it's also within working groups, within the student body, where the assignments and the work that they would be doing in the classroom would be collaborative work. And so you can imagine, for example, project-based learning that would take place in a highly collaborative environment, where there would be small groups, each one with tasks, and each one solving a set of problems at their own pace, collaboratively with one another, perhaps a little bit of friendly competition between those groups, and on and on. And you can imagine that as being much more constructivist environment, much more dynamic and lively than simply sitting on a bench and receiving instruction. This is creating one's own instruction.
And the role of the computer and other technology in what you just described, what would that be?
Well, first of all, there's a role of accessing information, right? So even as part of this project, you'd be accessing information. And we know from cognitive science that if you're using information to construct a project or a solution, you will automatically be learning facts. For instance, you don't have to go and learn the planets of the solar system just for that sake. You can learn that very smoothly as you're going through a project related to the solar system, because it activates different areas of your brain and different types of learning that take place. So that would be one way. You're accessing information via technology, you're learning. Second, you're also learning because you may be doing GPS mapping with GIS software. And so you're looking at maps from NASA or other sources and figuring out how to solve a given problem, such as in math, the traveling salesman problem, the perennial one. Third, technology now is also helping you with augmented reality, for instance, where you can overlay what you are seeing through a heads-up display, for instance, with the reality of a piece of equipment you're working on. This happens frequently in mechanical engineering nowadays, for instance. And you can also imagine completely immersive environments, virtual reality environments, where now you're embedded in a complete simulation. And that simulation will try to mimic life as we know it as best possible. We know it's used in gaming, of course, but there's no reason why it can't be used in all facets of learning. So here, in a very short amount of time, I give you 4 fairly broad uses of technology that would all enhance learning. And you can see sometimes the learning is collaborative, sometimes it's individual. You can progress at your own pace, and you can progress with the group. It's much more fluid. And now the teachers become orchestrators of the experience.
eSN TV, your #1 source for video news and information from North America's leading EdTech publications, from the world's foremost EdTech website, the eSchool News Network, America's EdTech authority. Watch eSN TV. Encounter the field's most fascinating personalities, the innovators who are turning the old school into the e-school. Watch eSN TV. Meet notable educators, advocates, and leaders. Watch eSN TV. Get real-time coverage of EdTech's most important gatherings. Stay up to the minute. Get the EdTech news and information you need to succeed. Watch eSchool News TV.